So last week I gave you 5 tips to get cinematic footage with the DJI Mini 2. Today I'll be giving you 5 tips to get better photos with the DJI Mini 2. These tips will all work with any drone, but I have the DJI Mini 2. Before we get into the tips, over 50% of you are not subscribed, so consider subscribing. I've got lots of exciting projects coming soon, so subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to get notified when they come out. First tip, don't shoot into the sun. This tip is to do with dynamic range, and dynamic range is just how well a camera can expose the highlights and the shadows of an image. The drone's dynamic range is not great. If you're shooting into the sun, and you try and expose everything correctly, it's not going to happen. Either the ground's going to be way too dark or the sky's going to be way too light. So my tip is always try to keep the sun to the side or behind you to get the best image without either the sky being way too bright or the ground being way too dark. Tip number 2, have a pop of colour. Having a contrasting colour in your image really just contrasts with the rest of the image. So for example, having a green forest, having someone in a red jumper just is incredible because red and green contrast. So having a pop of colour just makes your image look so much better because of the contrasting colours. Use clone stamping. Clone stamping is for when you're editing your photo and it's removing any imperfections, making the image more simplistic. It's basically just, clone stamping is basically just removing one part of an image and replacing it with another. So before and after of an image, it looks so much better. It's so much more simplistic, so much easier to look at, so you can get the overall idea rather than having lots of tiny imperfections, which is perfect for drone photography because often you're looking at a whole landscape or a whole area. Having imperfections kind of draws away from the whole effect, so clone stamping really makes you focus on the bigger picture. A perfect example of this is an Instagram account called Gabriel Happy. He does this amazingly. He simplifies his images so much. Like, it's crazy seeing the before and after. Tip number 4 is balance your drone images. The 3 rules for balancing your drone images is rule of thirds, symmetry, and leading lines. So these are the 3 things you want to look out for when taking photos with the drone. First is rule of thirds. It's where you have 3 sections going across and 3 sections going down, splitting into 9. And the intersection between each line is where you want the subject in the photo to be, where it looks best. Symmetry is obviously being symmetrical, having a line splits it in 2, and a great thing with drones is that the perspective of the drones means you can look down on things that make the photo symmetrical. For example, like a straight road, splitting the image in 2 just looks really good. There's lots of other things that work for this, and leading lines like a road going into the distance or a beach. There's loads of examples of leading lines. The final tip number 5, is plan what you're going to shoot. With the DJI Mini 2, you only get 31 minutes of flight time. So when you fly, you don't have much time to decide what you're going to take photos of. You just need to start taking photos so you get the best photos, because sometimes it takes like 10 minutes to get where you want to go with the drone. So my tip is research where you're going to fly on Google Earth before you get that place. So you can go onto Google Earth, find the place. Because you get a satellite view from Google Earth, that's very similar to what you can get with the drone. So look out for things that you could use for symmetry, leading lines, or rule of thirds. So when you get to that place, you know what you're going to shoot, so you can get what you want to shoot and get the best photo. So those are my 5 tips. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And before we go, I'm going to give a little sneak peek to my film that's going to be coming out in the next week. So just a little sneak peek. Here we go. That's all you're getting for now. The whole film will be coming out in the next week or so. So yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.